Hello everybody, you're tuned into Cragcore. So this is Cragcore, the foreign edition, because we're out of town right now. So basically, today we're going to be talking about, and as you can see the little pooches in the back there. You going to say hello, Monty? He just said hello. So, today we're going to be talking about the subject of compliance. Now, as I just get comfortable for a second. Compliance. Now, if you comply to something, you aren't necessarily, I suppose you are choosing to comply, so technically it is free will at that point. But there is a certain level, there's a cusp that you go past, where compliance then ends up being, I don't know, slavery perhaps, for want of a better word. Because in a situation like what we're in right now, for context, it's the 19th of September 2021. The situation that we're in now, we are being asked to comply. In fact, no, let me rephrase that. We're being forced in many ways to comply with what it is the government are, wanting us to do. Now, ultimately, we're being asked to comply in return for freedom. But you see, there's a contradiction in that, isn't there? Because if you're asking to do as you're told in order to be free, well, you're not actually free then, are you? Because you're doing as you're told. So by the very design of what it is that's happening right now, society is steering away and asking others to steer away from that which is free. And by doing so, what people are doing is vilifying freedom. And they are asking people to vilify freedom by ultimately shaming those. And they're not coming out and saying, shame those who want to be free. But they are indoctrinating you in such a way and brainwashing you in such a way that allows you to feel virtuous for steering away from freedom, therefore vilifying people that still shout for freedom and still stand up for their freedom. And this is wrong. You can say whatever you want. And at this point, people that are of the compliant mindset are probably going to say, well, come up with excuses and justifications as to why they are complying. But you see, that's the problem. There is literally no justification for taking away freedom from other people simply because you choose, to go along with the commonly accepted narrative, because you choose through this fascistic virtuism. Just created another term there. Because you choose to go along with it, you are ultimately taking that freedom away from other people. Because the more and more people that do, the world then by majority becomes, part of this fucking regime. And then later on down the line, there are less and less people to stand up for freedom. And then you've basically got a world with none. So, the compliance in all of this, people seem to be thinking that because they're complying, they're going to end up having freedom. That because they're going along with what it is the government are telling them to do, that ultimately they are going to be given their freedom back, because that's what they're being told. That if you comply, you may be free. And that if, the quicker people comply, kids just hit my car there with the car door. I knew it would happen. Don't they always? What can be done about it now? It's already done. But the quicker you comply, the the quicker it's basically going to be turned into a world where there is no freedom. Because so people have got this mentality. The government are telling you this. The government are basically saying that if you comply, you can have your freedom back. So ultimately, people are rushing towards compliance and therefore telling people and making out that anybody who doesn't comply is slowing down the process of going back to normal. Therefore, they're being irresponsible. But you see, if you speed up towards a world where everybody has to comply, all you're doing is hastening the creation of a fascist state. This needs to be accepted. It needs to be acknowledged. Because this, through your virtuous, this self-virtuous, this fascistic fucking virtuism that you are projecting and basically forcing other people to live by, and attacking people with this fascistic virtuism. The more you do that, the more you are thrusting society away from any sort of normality. Now, the government, by design, do not want anything in the ways of a free world. Because if the world is free, if people are free, then how on earth do these people govern you? Because the nature of government is to basically be in power over other people. Now, if people are free, then you're potentially, losing grip of any sort of power, because you're still allowing the people that you're attempting to govern to do as they please. Now, if you want total and complete power, well then you need to chip away at the power that people have as much as you possibly can. Now, I'm not saying that, and I never have, by the way, I never have said that this situation that we're going through right now has been completely and utterly false. Now, I'm not denying that there is, a virus out there that is making people sick. I've never denied that. However, what I have continued to say from the very start is that I truly do believe that it's been capitalized upon and used as a way to strangle society and to take away people's liberties. Now, at this point, nearly 2 years in, surely there must be more and more people kind of twigging onto this and saying, well, actually, I can't be the only person that can see that there is no such thing as freedom coming from this, because we were told a year ago. Now, why can't people see this? That we were told a year ago that we'd have freedom so long as we complied. And then we were told we couldn't have it. We were told Christmas gets here, you've got your freedom, so long as you comply. And then after Christmas, we were told, well, no, you've got to comply for another 3 or 4 months. Okay, everybody bent the knee again. Everybody got down on their hands and fucking knees and said, yes, master. Ultimately, the only thing that's happening here is we keep being told to comply. We keep being, given a carrot. And we're allowing that carrot to, tempt us to keep on going forward. It's the old donkey and the carrot scenario, isn't it? And we keep complying. We keep complying. But what happens? It's not the people begging for freedom that are stopping freedom coming back, is it? At this point, you've got to be able to see then that if you want your freedom, it's not the people that are fighting for freedom that are stopping freedom coming back now, is it? It's actually complying that is stopping freedom coming back. Because the people that are asking you to comply are also the people that are taking away your freedoms. Now, if every time they ask you to comply and you comply, let's just say, you know, I'm a non-compliant person. I have not complied with this regime. However, when they said you can't go to work, I didn't go to work. There are many other people out there that have tried to fight for the freedoms of humanity in their own personal ways. Now, this is my way of trying to put out some sort of narrative of common sense to the public in the hope that it's seen, in the hope that somebody somewhere thinks, actually, yeah, you know, common sense actually has become less common as this has gone on. But you see, even though we all comply, even though we have all gone along with this, when they've said you're being locked down, when they've said, you know, we're taking away your liberties, you can't work, you can't earn a living, all this kind of stuff, you can't go to the pub, you can't go to the fucking restaurant, you can't do this and you can't do that. After all these businesses have been closed down and everybody's complied over and over again, has it made a blind bit of difference? Well, no, it hasn't, has it? Because we're still in this, and it has been almost 2 years. So at what point do we say, okay, well, perhaps we're trying to deal with this problem in the same way over and over again, and it's not working. So at what point do we say, actually, let's change the tactics? Because if we can see now that through compliance, we aren't actually getting anywhere, well, then perhaps the way to stop this is through non-compliance. You know, maybe that's the way, because we're doing as we're told. You know, for the most part, we are separating ourselves from other people. Other people are choosing to separate themselves from other people, for instance, with regards to this app, when it says, you know, you've been in contact with somebody that's contracted this, you've been exposed, so therefore now you need to isolate. And people are willingly doing this. Again, through this sense of virtue. Oh, well, you know, and you can tell it's through a sense of virtue because it's commended and it's applauded on social media. People screenshot their orders to self-isolate when it says you need to isolate for this amount of days in a circle, and people are putting that on the internet and people are clapping and applauding this. So it bolsters and it builds up this virtuous attitude towards compliance. And this is extremely dangerous now, because people feel now through this, and that's where the brainwashing is, because people are being told you're a good person, well done, and people instinctively run towards that which makes them feel good. People run towards that which confirms that positive emotion. It's people get addicted to endorphins and to the dopamine kick that they get from certain scenarios. You know, I mean, if you've seen the Social Dilemma documentary, you know that social media is set up in such a way, all these apps are set up in such a way to release dopamine into the brain, to get you addicted to it. So everything you now post on there releases dopamine in the brain and it gets you addicted to it. So now you're releasing photographs of your self-isolation. You start getting likes and your phone starts dinging all the time. And all, you know, before you know it, you're now making that connection in the brain that that's a good thing. You're getting this dopamine kick from people telling you that you're a good person, which is rewiring your brain to think. This is all psychological, make no mistake. This is now rewiring your brain to make you think that so long as you go along with the rules, you're a good person, and anybody who doesn't isn't. And I mean, I'm not saying break the rules here. I'm just saying that we need to accept that compliance, because I'm not saying putting anybody at risk, it's my personal belief. In fact, it doesn't matter what my personal belief is. If you believe that by not wearing a face covering, you're putting people at risk, if you believe that by not fucking socially distancing, you know, you're putting people at risk, then by all means, anti-socially distance and wear a mask. You know, do what you need to do. Do what you feel is right, but you do not need to call other people, you know, negatively for not doing that, because, you know, you can take care of yourself, right? You're doing what you feel is right. But if you start posting it on the internet, all that does is create this cycle of you're a good person for doing the wrong thing, which is ultimately looking for some sort of confirmation. And then how is anything ever going to change? Because then through this compliance and this cycle of confirmation of your compliance, everybody is now seen, everybody that's doing that is being seen as, and being made to feel as though they are better than everybody else. And now you've got this two-tier society where you've got the virtuous and the people that are in the right for following the rules. And then you've got those that aren't in the right and the unvirtuous, you know, the lesser side of society that don't deserve to go and live a normal life. Normal being, you know, compliant life. But nonetheless, you can't, you know, they don't deserve to go and do the things that we would have done normally, freely, because they're non-compliant, because they're unvirtuous, because they dare to say that freedom is valuable. And this is not just one thing, you know, like I've just tried to explain there, probably quite badly. Hopefully, though, you know, you got the image I was trying to portray there. But through it all, I hope that you've been able to see there that I noticed that guy look at the camera. He sang us a little song as he was parking up. I don't know if you noticed that, but he probably saw that I was recording and started singing at the top of his voice with his window down. But I hope you can see now through this picture that I've tried to create here for you that this isn't just one way that this is happening. This is basically connected through many different facets. You know, I've noticed that this fascistic virtuism is evident everywhere. It's everywhere. And it's propaganda. I noticed I went to the co-op earlier, and outside they've got a sign that says, please feel free to wear a face covering. Now, it should say, feel free not to wear a face covering. Because wearing a face covering is something that is, it's imposing on your society. It's imposing on us all. Who really wants to wear one? Well, probably no one. Even those people that feel as though they're doing it for the right reasons probably don't want to have to wear one. Because who really wants to wear something covering their fucking face? So it should say, please feel free not to. Because let's face it, not to wear one is normal, isn't it? So why is it then that we're being pushed away from what is actually normal by this virtuous mentality towards doing it? You know, oh, please feel free to wear one. Like it's a good thing. Like it's... the way things are worded are making you feel emotionally and mentally like it's a good thing to do it. So therefore it's putting a positive spin. It's all propaganda. It's propaganda. It's like when people say, I'm doing my bit for my country, or your country needs you. And it's got a guy with a plaster on his arm, quite clearly had a jab. And you think, well, what happened in the world wars when there's that poster of a guy like that? He says, your country needs you. To get people to go and sign up so they can go and die. For somebody else to make billions of fucking pounds or billions of dollars on arms deals and deals on fucking bullets and deals on fucking petrol and fuel and stuff. You know, this is the same fucking situation we're living in. Because people aren't being shipped out to Normandy to go and get fucking carved up on a beach doesn't mean to say that we're not at war here. This is the quiet war. This is the war that we are fighting on a daily basis from our armchairs, from the supermarkets, you know, from the corner shop, from the fucking streets. You know, what type of soldier do you want to be? Do you want to put your hands up and surrender? Or do you want to fucking stand your ground? Because the enemy is that who wishes to take away your freedoms. It always has been. The way it was portrayed in the Second World War was the Nazi wants to come and take away the freedom, your liberties. And everybody got up off their fucking arses and said, okay then, through this sense of fucking virtuism, we're going to fucking go to war against the Nazi, against the fucking fascists, because we want our freedom. And everybody fucking went to war and died for it. But you see, what's happening now is your freedoms are being taken away by your own fucking governments. And those who are fighting for freedom are being called fucking names. And actually, the people going along with it are actually now turned into the fucking fascists because the government themselves are fascists. So if you're going along with them, then by fucking association, you are now a fucking fascist because you are choosing to cripple that which stands for freedom. Now I think I'm going to have to get off here. I think I'm going to have to sign off because I'm starting to feel a little bit passionate about this. And I don't want to start repeating myself. I feel as though I've repeated myself a couple of times with a couple of points. And I don't want this video to become that. You know, like a self-important rant. I still want these videos to be concise and have an element of, I don't know, maturity about them without, you know, me losing my thread and just, you know, rattling on about the same old things. But it's a very, very important time that we are now living in, and we've got to accept that compliance does not bring about freedom. Compliance actually only brings about more rules, which is the furthest thing away from freedom. You know, the more you comply and the quicker you comply, the less freedoms you have and the quicker you bring about that freedomless society. And on that point, I'm going to end here, and I'm going to wish love and peace to all things everywhere. And I do truly hope you have a very good day. Peace.